I'd like to go to the next slide now and discuss, as you mentioned, how Greece managed to handle this outbreak so successfully. So the government has put the public health in priority. So we took very strict measures, James, from day one. So about a week after Italy broke out, the government imposed a very heavy lockdown and really difficult restrictions in terms of traffic. So just to give you an example, we were not able to go out without texting a specific service number in order to let them know that we go out for exercise, we go for grocery shopping, to walk our dog. And this is actually the way that we have managed to contain the spread of the virus. We had only 180 people who passed away because of the virus and about 2,900 who got it.
Yeah. Ava, I want to stop you for 1 second. That's amazing how successfully Greece handled this outbreak, and I think a lot of the Americans that are listening to this right now are going to hear this, are going to be kind of surprised, because we didn't have to text any number. We just kind of had to go by the honor system of not leaving your house, self-quarantining, only leaving for necessary reasons. But I mean, to be quite honest with you, there were some places in my neighborhood where ice cream shops were still open. So granted, ice cream is pretty essential, but it just shows you the stark difference of how it was handled in America versus some different other countries that had handled it very successfully. So go on.
Yes, I mean, the main reason was that our healthcare system is not as great as in the US probably, or compared to the other European countries. So they had to be very strict. So as of the 4th of May, all business activity is back to normal. And we see only a few new infections being reported on a daily basis, which is really positive. So the country, as we see on the slide, is reopening. The hotels are coming back. The resorts actually are coming back on the 15th of June, as well as the two major airports of the country, Athens and Thessaloniki, which is the northern part of Greece, is coming back on the 15th of June. Now the Greek government, James, has announced a list of countries that are allowed in from the 15th of June, and it's 29 in total. And they have suggested that they will constantly evaluate this situation, allowing more countries to enter based on epidemiological data as the time goes by. So we're very confident. There hasn't been any public announcement about the US specifically or Canada, but because the flights are resuming beginning of July, so we're very confident that the US citizens will be allowed by July. So you see on the screen, these are still active. So Emirates, Delta, and American Airlines later on in August are coming back. And so one thing to mention, which is quite important, is that from 1st of July, there won't be any test requirement to enter the country. And there won't be any quarantine time imposed. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that the travelers will have to take is random testing on arrival and temperature check.
Sure. Yeah. And then I just flew last week as well. And the major difference, obviously, besides everyone wearing masks throughout the airport and on the airplane, was they do take a temperature check before you get on the airplane. And that was easy breezy. So no, this is very, very exciting that we're going to have some direct flights from here in America and Canada. So.
Absolutely. And then also great. The Greek government announced that even if you get sick while in Greece, we will cover the cost of treatment for any tourists who test positive.
Oh, wow. So, that's great. That's a good point. I didn't realize that. Okay. Thank you.
So let me get to the next one. So we discussed about the precautions and changes that Greece is taking post-COVID. Sure. To ensure that we will have a smooth touristic season this year. So majority of those are focusing on the safety on the flight and the ferries. The ferries actually were running up to 50% occupancy. Later on in July, they will go to 60% occupancy, but until further notice, that would be it. So they're just trying to make it as less crowded as possible.
Sure. And if I can stop you for 1 second too, I think it's important for people to know, if they haven't been to Greece, that the ferries are a very, very popular way to take transportation between the different islands. So for instance, you can even take a ferry from, Athens to Mykonos, but a popular ferry route, is from Athens to Santorini. So that's very important to take into consideration how the ferries will operate differently, and being proactive to handle this. So thank you.
Absolutely. And then also with regards to the hotel, so all of our preferred hotel suppliers have introduced very strict safety measures, which are according to the government instructions. So they will go to the extent to have temperature checking every time the guests and the staff go in and out of the premises.
Okay.
Most of the hotels in Greece, they will have outdoor spaces, so all the check-in and check-out will happen there. And a lot of others that you can see on the screen. So they're very serious. I mean, there is hotels in Greece that cannot abide by these rules and decided not to open this year, but majority of the hoteliers, especially to the standards that we're providing services like
Sure.
5-star hotels, are abiding by the new regulations. One thing also to mention is that most of the archaeological sites, such as the Acropolis, Delphi, ancient Olympia, are open spaces. So there will be, again, distancing and a certain amount of people allowed, but the most challenging would be the museums that are a lot stricter there. So there would be like security guards that they would be allowing only a specific amount of people going in, and maintaining the 2-meter distance. And we highly encourage the use of masks.